Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a book that's, well, controversial, to say the least. It's been called everything from a masterpiece of strategy to a downright sociopath's handbook. Of course, I'm talking about Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. And let's be clear, this isn't just some dusty history book. Nope. It's a playbook for a high-stakes game that Greene argues we're all playing, whether we like it or not.
This quote right here, which Greene actually borrows from Machiavelli, it really sets the stage, and it's a pretty stark and uncomfortable one. Right away, it throws a wrench in our usual ideas about right and wrong. The message? The world isn't built for the purely good-hearted. It's a strategic arena, and the book's whole point is that if you want to survive, let alone get ahead, you've got to understand the unwritten rules of power.
So, to really wrap our heads around this thing, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll look at the unspoken game of power itself. Then, we'll get into mastering your appearance, the art of indirect action, strategies for timing, and finally, what it means to have the mindset of a master.
All right, first things first, we have to understand the game board. The book's core idea is that power dynamics are, well, they're like these invisible currents running through every single human interaction. Every conversation, every meeting. You can pretend they're not there, but you can't escape them. The game, as they say, is always on.
So right out of the gate, the book splits everyone into 2 camps. You've got the supposed non-player on one side. This is the person who says, oh, I don't play those games, but often they're using that very sense of morality as their sharpest tool to hide their real goals. Then you've got the prudent player. This person doesn't waste time judging the game. They just accept that it exists and learn to play it and play it well.
Okay, so if power is a game, then how people see you, that's your uniform. It's your game face. And this leads us to one of the book's absolute core themes, mastering your appearance. It's not about what's actually true, it's about what people perceive to be true. That's everything.
Take law number 4, for example. Always say less than necessary. This is a perfect showcase of that idea. Think about it. When you say less, you just seem more profound, more mysterious, right? People can't figure you out, and when they can't fill in the blanks, they often fill them in with an image of power. Your words, because you use them so sparingly, suddenly have so much more weight.
So, what is it about silence that's so incredibly powerful? Well, the book lays out a few key reasons, and they all tap directly into human psychology.
For one, your silence makes other people antsy. It's just human nature. They get uncomfortable and rush to fill that quiet space, and in doing so, they often end up revealing their own cards, their intentions, their weaknesses. You get to sit back and just listen. You can't say the wrong thing if you're not saying anything at all, and meanwhile, you're building this air of mystery, gathering all this valuable information.
Now, this whole idea of perception, it goes way beyond just what you say or don't say. It's about what you do. And the book really pushes for this specific way of operating. Indirect action. It's all about showing, not telling. The point isn't to win a debate. It's to get what you want through actions that speak for themselves.
And the logic behind this is, it's actually pretty simple, but it's deep. You can win an argument. Sure, you might win the intellectual point, but you've also bruised someone's ego and probably created some resentment that's going to stick around. But an action, a demonstration, that's its own argument, and it's one nobody can really debate. You make your point without making an enemy. Okay, there's this fantastic story about Michelangelo that just nails this idea. So he's just finished his masterpiece, the Statue of David, but a powerful city official comes along, takes one look, and says, "The nose, it's too big." Now, you can just feel the argument about to erupt, right?
But Michelangelo doesn't argue. He's not about to get into a debate about art with a bureaucrat. Instead, he puts on a little show. He climbs up the ladder with his chisel and a secret handful of marble dust. He makes a big show of pretending to chisel away at the nose, tapping his tool but not actually touching the marble, all while letting that dust fall to the ground. It's the perfect illusion. And what was the result? The official was satisfied. He felt like his feedback was taken, his authority was respected, Michelangelo's masterpiece was saved, completely untouched. And the best part? The artist proved his point without making a powerful enemy. It was a silent, perfect victory.
Of course, you can have the most brilliant plan, the most clever action, but if your timing is off, it's all for nothing. And that brings us to our next big theme, mastering the art of timing.
See, the book argues that time isn't just something that passes by. It's another piece on the game board, something you can learn to control. Most people are rushed, they're reactive, but the master player, They're patient, they're deliberate. They never ever seem to be in a hurry.
And the difference is just night and day. Someone who's always rushing, they just look like they're not in control of themselves or the situation. But the person who has patience, who waits for the perfect moment to make their move, they seem incredibly powerful. It's almost like they're bending time to their will.
So, we've talked about perception, indirect action, timing. How does this all fit together? Well, all of these tactics, they all grow from one core mindset. It's the philosophy that sits underneath all 48 of the laws.
And that mindset is one of a cool, calculated strategist. You have to study everyone, but never fully trust anyone. You learn to wear different masks for different occasions. You're always thinking 2 steps ahead, always taking the indirect route. It's about disguising your cleverness, and it takes an incredible amount of self-control.
You know, there's a quote from Napoleon that the book uses, and it just sums this up perfectly. Place your iron hand inside a velvet glove. The iron hand, that's your strength, your will, your ambition. But it's always hidden inside that velvet glove of charm, politeness, and indirectness. It's all about having strength without being aggressive, having power without provoking anyone.
Which really leaves us with the one big question that hangs over this entire book. Is this thing a cynical, manipulative guide, or is it a pragmatic manual for how to survive in a tough world? The book itself doesn't really take a side. It doesn't make moral judgments. It just lays out these laws as things that have been observed in human nature over and over again. And it leaves the biggest decision of all up to you. How or even if you want to play the game.